Today I'm going to show you how I painted this eagle. So let's go back to my past so I can say what I said, do what I did, and we can learn what I learned together. Whew! This trip back to the past is fun. Okay, so now that we're back here in my past, I'm going to show you how I do what I did and how I say what I said so that together we can learn what I learned. Now today I am going to work on this eagle. I'm going to finish painting it, and I made a mistake. I left it out in the rain yesterday, but it feels really quite dry. So the paint must have been really solid dry to start with. So the first step in this next step is to get the paint off of the tape off of here. The reason I did it this way is that on this sculpture, not only is black the darkest color, you know, so I can put lighter colors. Wait a minute, does that make any sense? I'm gonna put lighter colors on it. Well, that doesn't make any sense. Okay, so what I'm learning here is I did black because it was the largest surface area. And then I carefully covered with blue tape the places that are going to be other colors, paying particular attention to where it's going to be white. Now, I also taped the tail, so I got to get the tape off of the tail because it's going to be white, and I didn't want any black on the white. Here, catch. And I put a bag over the bottom here to keep the paint off of the bottom. All right, so when painting, I learn as I go, but what I've learned so far is to try to do things in a sequence that allows drying. So I think I'm gonna do the white head next because I want it to be dry by the time I get the white tail done, so that I can come back and put in the golden eyes, and that will dry while I paint the golden feet, and then I'll come back and paint the black dots in the eye while the feet are drying, and then I'll put in the black claws. So there's not exactly enough time in each of those phases, but if I'm really careful and work my way through it, it should be okay. So something else I did, this is an experiment. These are some colors that I used for a nativity scene, manger scene that I'm working on. And I put tape over the top of it to see if, well, look at that. That's a good idea. That's a keeper right there. Take packing tape and tape over the top of your mixes. Huh, okay, the brown is good, the black is good, the white has still got some life to it. This in here is very dry, which I need a really dry one because I want to put white in one that's doesn't have any color in it, so it won't mix and dirty up the white. The process of painting and putting paint on this wood is going to dirty it up a little bit anyway, which is what I want, because nothing in nature is actually like exactly 100%, what's the phrase, void of color. Everything's got a little pigment in it, a little color of some kind, a little bit of dirt. So now we'll get some white paint here and we'll paint. There we go. Oh no! I dropped my wet paintbrush in the sawdust and busted my knee. Not a good combo. Okay, so now my paintbrush is clean. I've got my white paint. I want to have some pointedness to the white as it overlaps the black. But I got a big surface area to cover here, so I'm just going to glob some on and get started. And this will take a few minutes. And here on top, where there's not very many chainsaw marks, I glob the paint, I make it really thick, but then give it like a pattern that's inspired by feathers, giving it the appearance that where the chainsaw markings aren't, that are inspired by the feathers, that there's some paint globs that are inspired by feathers. I got a little carried away there with the white. White does not go on the beak. Make sure there are no globs there. It's summertime here in Tennessee, so I have bugs crawling all over my sculpture. They want to know, what is this? Is there something to eat? I'm not sure what they're thinking, but there are a lot of them. Well, that's a red aphid. Please don't stick in my paint. Thank you. Trying to get right down to the black. Pretty close. Tiny little bit of overlap here and there is okay. You know, it's not a precise neckline like a t-shirt. And then I'm going to come back and put points, sharp points on it to look more like feathers. Turning my brush sideways to get down into the grooves is helpful. Keeping my brush pretty clean up next to the, where it connects to the handle, is very helpful, so that I don't accidentally get some down on part of the sculpture where I don't want white. That's never good. You got a big glob to clean up. You got to come back and repaint. I have been there. So as muscle memory develops, I get less messy. And of course, that's a function of muscle memory and focus. I'm really paying attention to what I'm doing. And I've done it a whole bunch of times. If I get distracted, that's a different story. Sometimes, when the sculpture absorbs a lot of paint really fast, I let a little bit of that brown, and this is maple, is the wood, by the way, that I've carved this one out of. And I let a little bit of that poke through because, like I said earlier, you know, feathers aren't perfectly white. The eagle lives outside. And there's pigments in the feathers too, not just that he gets dirty. And this is white acrylic paint. The black that's on the eagle is a spray primer. And then I dusted it with a brown spray to break up the harshness of the black and give it a little more natural looking color. All right, now I'm going to start putting some points to the feathers, and I'm going to need some more paint. But you see how the brush is flat? So if I turn it just a little bit, I'll be able to get a pointed end to the feather. A mistake I made today is that I did not wear paint clothes. So I really want to be careful. So I lay the brush at an angle and just put a point every now and then. Some points longer than others. Sometimes they're a little more round than they are pointed. That's okay. If you want to do it like I do it, this is my method to get little pointed places that look more like feathers. Sometimes what I'm doing is just painting the top of the chainsaw ridge so that the color lines up exactly with the texture that I made in it with the chainsaw. It is hot here in Tennessee. I think yesterday it hit 100, which for us is really hot. Hot and sticky. Everything was wet. Water forming up on the glass and on our French doors on our deck. So I get out here really early in the morning. I try to be out here 6:15, 6:30. To take advantage of the cooler mornings, because unlike places like Kansas, where my wife's folks are from, here in Tennessee it does get cooler at night. And I notice, like in Kansas, man, when it gets hot, it's just hot. You wake up, it's hot. You go to bed, it's hot. It's sitting there on the Kansas City, sitting there on the edge of the Great American Desert, as I understand it. Okay, there we go. So there's Mr. Eagle and his white feathers on his head. Now I'm going to do his feathers here at the bottom. And so that's drying. So that while I'm doing this, that's drying, and I can come back and put the eyes in after the golden eyes. So the white tail feathers come up here a ways. So I'm going to paint over this little bit of black here. Just a little bit. And make the white go higher. Now, I don't work real hard getting paint up underneath, but I do put some because the eye is going to catch it and it looks unfinished. It's like, guess that artist thought nobody would look there. I don't know, it just feels sloppy and incomplete to me. Although, like when I did an essay at the J.P. Speed Museum in Louisville on the Prodigal Son sculpture that's out front, one of the things I noticed even in that grand masterpiece is that underneath the arms, it was incomplete. The sculptor did not chisel smoothly underneath. So I just thought that was interesting. No criticism to that artist, but just a thought. You have to decide. A guy I follow sometimes on YouTube that makes coffee table, farmhouse furniture stuff. He tells a story about how a lady and her husband brought a piece of furniture back. They were very unhappy with it, and I mean it looked perfect when they brought it back. And he's like, please tell me what you really didn't like. I mean, tell me like, I won't get mad. Tell me like there's no reservation, you're not being polite, you're not holding back. I really want to know what is wrong. And the guy's like, oh, you really want to know? Okay. So they flipped it over, and underneath the coffee table, there was like handprints from where he had painted the top of it, and his hands had stuff on it. And it looked beautiful from the top, but it was important to them that it was painted underneath as well. And so that cost him a sale, but he learned from it, and now he always paints underneath as if it's the top. So, you know, that's just a decision each woodworker, each artist has got to make. Oh, and that essay I wrote about the prodigal son, that was not an art course. I don't have an art degree. I am learning, and you're learning with me as we go. I really appreciate you coming along. The more you watch and the more you subscribe and like and comment, the more people will get to come along and learn with me. And I know that my value is more about how to get into something that you're really not totally sure about, that you don't have great skill at. Maybe you've never done it before, and you just get in there and figure it out. I think my first eagle that I painted, you just, you know, get started. What color do I want that? I don't know. What brush should I use? I don't know. And get advice, get most of my advice from people on YouTube. But I also have a friend who is a really, really good artist. She paints. And so when I do have a question and I'm stuck and I need help with a color, she can tell me what the colors are. And I think some of the stuff I'm using right now came from her. Okay, so that's the white. Let me think about this a minute. I don't have anything else that needs to be white. So I'm going to clean my brush, and I just keep a cup of water. And since what I'm doing isn't, oh, there's an ant down in there. Dude, that's not a good spot. I'm gonna die in there. It doesn't have to even be clean water, because we're looking for texture and interesting mixes of colors, pigments. And so if I pick up a little bit of yucky, dingy, and even get it in my white, it's okay, because I want it to look more natural than less natural. So let's see. I'm gonna use this. What color is this? This is golden yellow. Oh, interesting. Amarillo dorado. Oh, I was thinking it said armadillo. And I'm going to put this in on top of this little bit of yellow that's already in here, that maybe has some life in it still, maybe not. But I'm going to mix it. Ooh, that's interesting. What is going on in there? Ooh, it's getting old. So I got more juice than I got substance. I'm not really sure what that means, but it came out runny. Let's go for that. It came out runny. And that little bit of yellow in there, that is uber helpful. I like that. Okay, so we're gonna go with that, and I'm gonna just put, I gotta put a circle. I'll put a little circle right here for its eye, and so I don't want much paint. And I know I've already got red up there, And the white's wet, so I'm going to anchor my pinky against the black, which is already dry, and just get some on there and start to move it around and shape it a little bit. I've got this guy carved so that sometimes I use my other arm too against the dry part, and then I can steady my brush. This guy, I've got his eyebrow in such a way that the round part of the top of his eye is covered up. Does that look right? Yeah, I think so. I'll let that dry. Get another little dab. Try to keep my brush really clean on these, because I can come back and put more and make sure there's no white on my hand when I anchor it against the black. And come back in, get a little bit on there, and there is something crawling up my leg. I'm hoping it's just an ant. Yep, it is. Sometimes it's a spider, and I'm just not real happy about that. But it's better to not flinch. Like I've learned, if you're working outside, whatever it is, just let it crawl on you until you can see it and either flick it or spank it. Because if you scare it, you increase your chances of it biting you, whatever it is. But if it's just, you know, happy hunky-dory, even a spider just crawling up your leg, do, exploring, wonder what this is. What is this weird, hairy, what is this weird brown grass that's warm? I don't know what this is. And it's most likely not there to bite you. So I've trained myself to not flinch at all. And I praise the Lord for that. That has rescued me in so many cases. Just don't flinch. And I'm going to add some of this beautiful gold down here and give him some yellow gold legs. And the black that you see here is char from when I torched the sculpture after I carved it. And I blew it off with the air hose and brushed it really good with a brush. And that's the part that didn't come off. And I am really okay with that, because it helps make the feet, in my opinion, look more natural, look more like eagle feet. So if it peeps through, that is okay with me. Now what I've got going on here with these two is I carved him with this talon and claw overlapping the one underneath it. Because I noticed in a lot of my, I look at a lot of pictures when I carve, and I noticed that it's not uncommon, maybe I shouldn't say common, but it's not uncommon, when an eagle lands, that it actually steps on its own feet. Its talons are so large, this is my theory, that there's not enough room on what they're standing on, and so they just, you know, stand on themselves just a little bit. It's not like they need to have them loose to walk, because they're going to fly off of whatever it is they're standing on. So I guess, again, this is just my theory. We're just talking about eagles. It seems like when they take off, they're just going to go up and out. And so it doesn't matter that much that they're standing on their own feet. It's interesting, though. I wondered about that. That's interesting. There's some little green tiny bug tickling my hand. You see how that black char shows through there? Isn't that cool? I learned that by accident too. I just started putting some gold paint on a sculpture and was like, wow, look at that. I think I'm going to leave it like that. You know, and if you want it to be more crispy, if crispy's the look you're going for, let's see, what does crispy mean? Visually crispy. All solid, one color, straight lines, obvious start and stop to colors. If you like that, well, then just let it dry and come back and put some more paint on it. I've done that too. You know, if something too much char is showing through underneath, I let it dry and then come back, you know, to go do something else. I have multiple projects going, or that either have been paid for or are just things I want to do. And so while it's drying, I'm going to go do something else. Like if this doesn't dry fast enough this time for the next color, then I got a manger scene going in there, and I need to carve, I think I've done 2 of the wise men. I need to do a baby Jesus and Mary and Joseph. And I know if you look at the date on this video, it's June. I know I'm working on manger scenes in June. Makes me laugh, but I just want to get them done. They're ordered. They don't need them till Christmas, but I want to do them well and get them finished. So if I need time for this to dry, I'm going to go get one of my maple sticks. I'm carving stick people for the manger scene. Little faces coming up out of the sticks. It's very rustic, but it's cute. It's a fun take. On an incredible piece of history. Probably the most important. I don't know, I guess you could argue that his death on the cross, that, you know, took the punishment for our sins so that we didn't have to die, that might be more important than his death, but we'll just say that in total what he did, what Jesus did, including his coming as a baby, was the most significant historical event of all time. And my little stick figure manger scene is depicting part of that. Kind of fun. Can you hear the birds? They're really happy to be alive and talking to each other. Ooh, that brushful got really yellow. That is okay. I want the bottom of the leg. I want there to be a pretty distinct separation between leg feathers and leg. And an eagle's leg is not that thick, but I was a little nervous to make it any thinner with the chainsaw because it didn't want to end up cutting the eagle off of the stump. That would have been bad. That'd be really bad, really bad, real bad. But I do want to go ahead and paint all of it since it's there. This is leg. Okay, so some nice dirty yellow for the feet, the talons, and I'll come back and get some more black on the claws in a little bit. I think I'm gonna leave it. That's good. This is not heavy enough or dry enough, so I'm gonna come back, check my hand for paint again, and steady it, and then add some yellow on top of what I've already got there. Let's do the other eye again, and then we'll paint the beak. My battery didn't have a whole lot of life, so let me check and see if you all are still with me. Yep, it's still going. Okay, let's paint this beak. Let's see. No. So the beak comes all the way back to a jaw line underneath the eye, like even back past the eye a little bit. And then it turns and goes up in front of the eye, like so. And the jawline, if I have a bigger sculpture, I create the top and bottom of the bottom jaw, and then the bottom line of the top of the jaw. And on the smaller ones, I just give it a ridge right here so that you can tell, you know, there's a upper and lower beak. Now I'm calling it a jaw. I don't know if that's right or not. Let's stick with beak. A mosquito munching on my ear. They keep landing on me and biting me. I'm going to have yellow on my head. Almost said hair, but I can hardly say I have hair. Oh, I didn't give him a nostril. He's got to have nostrils. So when I come back to put the little dots of paint in the eye, I'll put little, like tiny little tic-tac shaped blobs of black for the nostril. That beak line gets really thin in the back, and then it thickens out to the upper beak and the lower beak. I don't know, beak makes me think of a beaker for some reason. I think about high school chemistry and beakers. Okay. He looks pretty beaky. I'd like for that to be a little darker. I think I'm going to have to go a little thicker. Okay. That might need another coat, I don't know. But I'm going to clean up that brush and then do some black. And the black I've got here is from a couple of days ago when I covered it up with the packing tape. It is still good. Look at that. That's amazing. So I'm going to get the bulk of the paint off my brush up here around the top edge of the talon. And then work my way down to the point. They have such big feet. I mean, they're amazing, and it feels, when I think I get it right size-wise, okay, ant, oh, it's a fly. When I think I get it right size-wise, it feels too big and disproportionate. But that's for real. Their claws, talons, are really, really big. And I learned something super cool. Well, it was cool to me. It was interesting if you're interested in that kind of thing. It was interesting to me that the male and the female, unless they're side by side, same age, you can't really tell which one's which unless you look at the helix. And the helix is the talon in the back. And the female has a much larger helix than does the male. Like, huh, well, that's interesting. And overall, if they're side by side, like a couple, and eagles are monogamous, they mate for life, and a lot of them, even if one or the other, male or female, die, they won't court again. Some of them do, but not all of them do. They're very, very faithful, very loyal, monogamous birds. And if you see a couple side by side, the bigger one is the female. A full-size female can have a wingspan of 8 feet. The male's wingspan is more like 6 feet. The female can be 41, 42 inches tall, which that is a really big bird. Big, 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 big bird. And how'd I get on this? Oh, the helix. Yeah, so the talon. If you see a bird in the wild all by itself and you have no other bird to compare it to, my understanding is, of course, I don't know how you're going to get to see it. You can't walk up and say, hey, show me your helix. You might get beaked. But the female, the talon in the back, is bigger on the female. There we go. So there's some claws. And now let's see. I'm going to switch up brushes here and I want a teeny tiny, itsy bitsy little brush. See it right there? To put a little black dot in the eagle eye. And here we go, Mr. Eagle. Here comes your pupil. Get really steady on this one. And the yellow is so wet. Because I want a beak line, just a faint little touch of black. Let's see if I can do it. And then same thing on this side. Get enough paint on the end of this tiny little brush to put in a pupil. But the yellow is very wet still. And then do a faint. Too much paint to be faint. That rhymed. Ha ha ha. I'm looking for shadow and separation of the upper and lower beak. Ouch. Stop biting me. I'm smudging. It's probably not the official term, but I'm smudging. I'm blending the two colors. Okay, now little nostril. And the nostril goes from high to low. Closer, the top, so the angle's this way, not this way, in other words. And they do match. They're symmetrical, mostly. That doesn't look right. Yeah, it does. It's this worm, that's what's the matter with it. I had a worm in my paint. Sitting on an eagle's nose. Probably a dangerous place. I don't think eagles care much about worms. They want fish, meat to feed their babies. Okay, there we go, Mr. Eagle. How you doing, sir? Representing freedom. All right, now I want to put a little black around the back and the outside, around the front and the outside. Well, the way you're rocking here, I'd say you were a rockin' robin, but you are a rockin' eagle. Okay, and let's do the same over here. A little bit of black. Oh, that might be too much. Okay, and then a little line around the back, the bottom, and the front, because the top of the eye is up under the eyebrow. He's like furrowed brow. He's looking with serious intention at some food he's gonna go eat. Aren't you, buddy? Yep, you're looking good. All right, now I'm thinking what I'm gonna carve across here. I think I'm gonna carve triumph for victory. What do y'all think? Maybe too many letters? But what happened is I was backwards. I thought this was the back. I'm carving away and I'm like, wait a minute, that's not the back. So I ended up with this flat spot and I thought, oh, that's cool. I'll just give it some more space and clean it up and I'll carve something in there. I'll carve some letters. But that's not for today. Today is, we painted the eagle. Look at that. So I taped the head, taped the tail, I bagged the stump covering the talons, spray painted the black, danced around it a little bit with some brown for some to break up the black. Then I painted the white, the yellow, the yellow, and then little black details and little black talons. Hope you've enjoyed learning with me, coming back to the past here to learn what I learned and see me do what I did, say what I said. I appreciate you being here. Please like, subscribe. See you later.